Well, you probably knew we were going to be back here at some point, didn't you? We will especially be back here in Kata. But for now, you're probably wondering, why are we here during Wrath? Well, once again, a little bit more setup for what was going to be happening in Kata. Remember, back in Burning Crusade, we had to go to two different places. The Black Morass and Old Hillsbrad Foothills, because the Infinite Dragons were trying to have certain events not happen to change how history would happen in that timeline, to basically further bring about the end of the world, you know? So they're kind of trying to do the same thing here as well. And once again, it's an event that makes people go, wait a minute, why would we not let them do this? And, well, to go into all the, like, well, let's see. If this didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen, and this wouldn't happen, and this wouldn't happen, which were incredibly important and pivotal to us being able to actually defeat Archimonde of the Burning Legion in Warcraft 3, and yada, yada, yada. Certain things have to happen, no matter how horrible they might be, in order for other things to happen. Now, forgive me, but I'm going to talk a bit about this particular dungeon because I have spoken about how this is something that I know a lot of players feel very strongly about, and I'll talk more about this as we get going here. But you're probably looking at this going, hey, this looks familiar. Yes, it does. Welcome to the Culling of Stratholme. Hey, wait a minute. We're a human. That's right, apparently a Volpera becomes a human in this dungeon. Now remember, in the Old Hillsbrad Foothills, if we came in here as a Horde race, it would change us to a Alliance race. I was just curious what a Volpera would become if you came in here, and apparently you become a human. Go figure. So we finally have human shamans. I, of course, think that we should have human shamans already, but whatever. Chromie!
Ah, I knew you'd turn up eventually.
Welcome, adventurer. You've come just in the nick of time. Why have I been sent back to this particular place in time? Oh.
We'll meet again.
I'm really sorry. That skipped through all of that, and I did not mean for it to. I'm really sorry, guys. I don't know why I did that. I don't know how to fix that or change it, but it just did. If you do want what she says in terms of the story, go back and try to pause and just kind of like do frame by frame to see what it was that she says. Again, I apologize that it did that. I don't know why it did that. The Infinite Dragonflight seeks to disrupt history by deceiving Prince Arthas. If they can convince him that none of the green here carries the plague, then he'll never have to make the fateful decision to cull Stratholme. Use this arcane disruptor on any suspicious crates of green you find.
Take care of yourself out there.
So, yeah, we now have to... Okay, so, let me further explain. What are you doing in my cellar? There's a food scare going on, and the last thing I need is strangers rummaging around in my goods. Shoo, shoo! You're gonna see some familiar names in here. This whole situation seems a bit paranoid, don't you think? Orders are up. If the prince says jump, Footman James. Oh boy. Carlin and Marlene Redpath. And Postmaster Malone. Oh, seeing these names. Ooh. Oh, and Pamela. Oh, Pamela. Oh, I'm so sorry, Pamela. And Joseph. Oh, man. Yeah. So just like in the Hillsbrad Foothills, there's a number of Easter eggs in this place, as you can imagine. So you're probably going, hey, hold on a second. What's going on here? Well... The Infinite Dragonflight are trying to prevent the culling of Stratholme from happening. Now you're probably thinking, wait, that's a good thing, isn't it? Again, this is one of those things where certain things have to happen for other things to happen. You know, one thing led to another in Warcraft 3. And if certain things don't happen, other things won't happen, and, well, the Legion wins. Is basically what happens, you know. So that's what the Dragon Infinites want. Doing this, believe it or not, would lead to our ultimate demise. I actually haven't cleared up my bags here yet. I may as well, since he's right here. But yes, we have gone back in time to prevent the Infinite Dragonflights from interfering with the Culling of Stratholme, to make sure that Arthas actually makes his way to Northrend and eventually follows the events of Warcraft 3. That's what our goal is here. So we are actually having to reveal the contaminated grain. The plague grain. So to continue here, we have to reveal them. Otherwise, they were hidden. Basically, the Infinites just use a magic to make them look like just normal grain. Everything's fine. It's here that we then reveal what they are, which will have Arthas be like, oh no, the plagued grain is here. Just showing some of the NPCs in case you're curious. Like I said, there are some references in here if you notice, if you recognize some names here and there. Now, we're also about to see a recreation of a scene from Warcraft 3. Now, I should point out that most of the audio is exactly the same sound files from Warcraft 3, except for one thing. So, the audio files for both... Well, I'll explain in a moment. Because I don't want to have to spoil it or talk over it until we get there, so... All soldiers of Lordaeron should immediately report to the entrance of Stratholme and await further orders from Prince Arthas. Sorry to those of you who are still trying to get this mount. I was one of those that was very lucky about getting it, I guess. Good work with the crates. Come talk to me in front of Stratholme for your next assignment. And I'm hoping we can talk to her before the cutscene actually starts. You'll notice all the Lordaeron Knights here.
Why, hello!
Good work! Arthas now knows about the plagued grain in Stratholme and is about to begin the culling. Something is still not quite right, though. I sense a foreign presence in this timeline besides us, and that must mean the Infinite Dragonflight are here somewhere.
The time waves
You've done well, friend, but the plagued grain was exposed to Arthas' troops. Listen carefully now. There remains more to be done.
It's been a pleasure.
Arthas will soon face a desperate dilemma and make a monumentous decision. I must call upon you to accompany the prince in his culling. Arthas must make it through Stratholme alive, and you must see to it that he defeats Mal'Ganis.
Is this goodbye or hello? I keep losing
What do you think
track.
they're up to? I don't know, and that worries me. I'll do everything I can to find the Infinites. What I need you to do is just stay close to Arthas by joining his army. You want me to do what? Well, you're not going to sign recruitment papers or anything, but you are going to fight alongside him. You need to make sure that Arthas culls Stratholme and defeats Mal'Ganis. Without Uther and Jaina around, he'll need all the help he can get. If you talk to Arthas, he'll put you to work destroying the forces of Mal'Ganis. Follow along until I can figure out what's going on with the Infinites. Very well, Chromie. Good luck. And, oh, here comes Uther and Jaina now.
Until next time.
So yeah, there's Uther. There's Arthas. And there's Jaina.
Glad you could make it, Uther.
Watch your tone with me, boy. You may be the prince, but I'm still your superior as a paladin.
As if I could forget. Listen, Uther. There's something about the plague you should know. Oh no. We're too late. These people have all been infected. They may look fine now, but it's just a matter of time before they turn into the undead. This entire city must be purged.
How can you even consider that? There's got to be some other way.
Damn it, Uther. As your future king, I order you to purge this city!
You are not my king yet, boy. Nor would I obey that command even if you were.
Then I must consider this an act of treason.
Treason? Have you lost your mind, Arthas?
Have I? Lord Uther, by my right of succession and the sovereignty of my crown, I hereby relieve you of your command and suspend your paladins from service.
Arthas, you can't just...
It's done. Those of you who have the will to save this land, follow me. The rest of you, get out of my sight.
You've just crossed a terrible threshold, Arthas.
Jaina?
I'm sorry, Arthas. I can't watch you do this.
So, the audio for Jaina and Uther is exactly the same audio from Warcraft 3, like the actual same audio files. Because you could tell that's not Laura Bailey, that's the actress who played her in Warcraft 3.
I will lead a small force inside Stratholme to begin the culling. We must contain and purge the infected for the sake of all of Lordaeron.
The notable difference here is Arthas. Now, for whatever reason, I don't think I've ever been able to find out what the reason was. They couldn't get a hold of the old actor from Warcraft 3 who played Arthas back then. And I think there was a rights issue where they weren't able to use the audio files of his voice back then. Probably because they weren't able to get a hold of the actor. And so they got another actor to play Arthas basically from this point onwards in WoW. Now, this would even be the case when they tried to recreate that whole "this entire city must be purged" in the cutscene in BFA, where we saved Jaina while with Jaina's mother. However, then they just had Laura Bailey do Jaina's lines. But it was still this same actor who plays Arthas. Now, I don't think he does a bad job, except he doesn't really hit the complicated nuance of the situation when it came to Arthas, and the complicated emotions and situation of what Arthas was dealing with when he had to make this decision. And in my opinion, the actor from Warcraft 3 was able to hit a really nice nuance of the conflict within him, the interpersonal conflict of Arthas having to make a decision like this that he was not okay with, but he felt like he didn't have another choice, that there was just no good choice in this situation. And this actor really doesn't do that. He kind of makes him sound more menacing and more... and it makes Arthas come across more evil as opposed to the complicated, more nuanced situation that the other actor used to. Which then leads me to what I want to talk about in regards to this situation, the Culling of Stratholme. And I talked about this when we went through Warcraft 3, as well as Warcraft 3 Reforged.
I will not allow this plague to spread. Everyone looks ready. Remember, these people are all infected with the plague and will die soon. We must purge Stratholme to protect the remainder of Lordaeron from the scourge. Let's go.
So, this is what we, especially those of us who are familiar with Prince Arthas, may the light be praised. Many people in the town have begun to fall seriously ill. Can you help us?
I can only help you with a clean death.
What? This can't be... Oh, no!
That was just the beginning.
Yes, this is the beginning. I've been waiting for you, young prince. I am Mal'Ganis. As you can see, your people are now mine. I will now turn this city, household by household, until the flame of life has been snuffed out.
I won't allow it, Mal'Ganis. Better that these people die by my hand than serve as your slaves in death.
So, I was wondering why all of a sudden he had mutton
Ganis will
chops.
send out some of his Scourge minions to interfere with us. Those of you with the strongest steel and magic shall go forth and destroy them. I will lead the rest of my forces in purging Stratholme of the infected.
Apparently they updated the model to reflect how he is in the raid, Sepulchre of the First Ones, which as you can see, he did have in Shadowlands. Oh no! Adventure, something awful has happened! A colleague of mine has been captured by the Infinite Dragonflight, and they're doing something horrible to him! Keeping Arthas is still your highest priority, but if you act fast, you could help save a Guardian of Time. So yes, I'm doing this on Heroic to see if I can show it to you guys. I didn't deserve this. So yeah, 25 minutes to be able to try and get through this to also save them out. So you'll notice how many of them have quickly already become zombies. So this is something that, well, I would like to think that this makes a point to people about the situation that Arthas was in. Now, those of us who are familiar with Star Trek can refer to the situation as basically the Kobayashi Maru. If you've ever seen Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, you know exactly what that is. Basically, the Kobayashi Maru is a no-win situation. No matter what choice you make, you can't win. There is no victory in this situation. Regardless of what choice you make, you have the outcome you get. It doesn't necessarily mean it was a good outcome. Maybe it's the best outcome you could have gotten of the choices and outcomes you were looking for, but it's basically the only good, decent, possibly less evil outcome of the ones you had available to you. And that's basically what this is. At least in my opinion. And I know I'm not alone in that opinion. I know there are others that share the same opinion. However, there are plenty of players over the year that have constantly argued and felt that there had to have been another way to deal with this. That there must have been another option. Something else that could have been done. As opposed to this. And the thing I've also tried to point out to other people is that in the game, people said, like, oh, well, they never, like, discuss, like, well, maybe there's a cure. Maybe we can go try and find one or discuss one. Two things with that, though. One, in the book, the Arthas Rise of the Lich King book, they actually bring that point up. Now, it's not brought up in the game, but in the book, Jaina actually says, well, what if I go to Dalaran and we try to discuss some kind of cure for this? And Arthas immediately points out, we don't have time. I saw how fast this works in Andorhal. We don't have the luxury of time to sit down and figure out a way to cure this. That's just simply not how it works or is going to work at all.
Playtime!
So that's our first boss. So they didn't have time because, as you can clearly see, the green works very, very fast. To the point where you can see, look at how many people here. These were people. Just people and citizens of Stratholme. How many of them have already become zombies? And ghouls and Scourge? I point this out because this just goes to also further show and prove that Arthas was not wrong when he said, we don't have the time, this works really, really fast. And as far as we know, even to this day, there is no cure for the Scourge Plague. So this is actually our first boss in this dungeon. Meat Hook. Oh, hold on. Deep within the caverns of time... Oh, that's the same... Never mind. Since Prince Sarthus first encountered the Scourge abominations, they have become even more menacing. Meat Hook has grown stronger, more toxic, and more agile than the others. Smarter was never the goal of the necromancers who created Meat Hook, but it only takes a base cunning to do what he does best.
New toys!
So he has Frenzy, increasing damage done, stacks 10 times. He will encase a player in chains, inflicting damage and stunning them for 5 seconds, and he has Disease Explosion. Really? Blizzard? Explosion? Explosion? Alright, next wave will be showing up soon. So what I'm basically getting at is that I am someone who has looked at this situation and has... Once I really learned about the whole Kobayashi Maru thing, about how sometimes there is just simply no really good answer. Sometimes there is no way out of a bad situation. Sometimes you can only do what you think is the best answer at the time. And the reality of what he was facing was he had to make a decision of, do I just simply allow this place to just kind of be fully infected with the plague and have all these people become undead minions of the Scourge, as well as... Where's the next wave? As well as basically allowing them to run rampant and spread this to other places and let the Scourge further continue to spread and grow? Or do I try to contain this horrible situation and spare these people from a fate that is much, much worse than death? Because let me ask you guys a question. Imagine you are the people of this town, and you find out that you have been infected with this plague that is going to turn you into these things. Ghouls, zombies, all these things. To serve the Scourge. And commit horrible atrocities, kill your friends and your families against your will, basically, where you can't make any choice of the matter. You can't do anything about it. Would you be okay with that? Or would you rather just be killed? Legit question. Feel free to answer in the comments. In this situation, if you were part of these people and you found out what your fate is from this infected plague grain, would you want to just simply be allowed to turn into one of these monstrosities and do all those horrible things that they want you to do against your will? Or would you rather just have Arthas kill you and spare you from such a horrible fate? And those are the only two options, the only two choices you get. You can either die, or you can be left alone to become a zombie to serve the Scourge and commit horrible atrocities in their behalf. Which would you rather have?
You are too late, champion of Lordaeron. The dead shall have their day.
This is Salram the Fleshcrafter. Salram the Fleshcrafter was one of the first necromancers trained in the halls beneath Sholomance. He saw the test subjects and occasional few fellow students as little more than a collection of interesting parts for his work. Now he has the entire population of Stratholme for his experiments, along with any interlopers who try to stop him.
Ah, the entertainment has arrived.
So he has Curse of Twisted Flesh, which reduces your max health.
It must be mine!
And inflicts damage every 30 seconds. It's 3 seconds for 30 seconds. He has corpse explosion. Yes, I'm serious. He has corpse explosion like a necromancer in Diablo. I am not kidding. He has steel flesh, where he'll reduce the damage they do by 75% and increase his by 75%. And he has Shadow Bolt.
I want a
So, yeah. Yes, I know.
Champions, meet me at the town hall at once. We must take the fight to Mal'Ganis.
I think he'll already be there, I think. I'm not entirely sure about that, but as you can see, look at how many zombies are here from the plagued grain. Again, I'm not trying to say... Well, maybe I am. My point is that I've heard people, criticize Arthas and say he was a monster for doing this horrible thing. When the reality is, he didn't have a better choice or outcome ahead of him. Because this fate would have spread to many other places throughout the Eastern Kingdoms. I mean, it eventually does, but the thinking was, we can prevent that if we contain it here. And again, we're sparing these people from a horrible fate. Now, the Lich King can just bring them back, but we didn't know that at the time.
Lordaeron will be saved. I know the way through.
Sorry that's skipping all the dialogue, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that on purpose. It's doing it on its own. Ah, you have finally arrived, Prince Arthas. You're here just in the nick of time.
Yes, I'm glad I could get to you before the plague. What is this sorcery?
There's no need for you to understand, Arthas. All you need to do is die! Infinite Dragon Hunters. Come on, Arthas.
Mal'Ganis appears to have more than Scourge in his arsenal. We should make haste.
Sure. That's exactly what's going on here. They're clearly working with Mal'Ganis.
Be ready for anything.
Gift of the wind for druids only.
Let's move on. Watch your backs. They have us surrounded in this hall.
We're fine. Just consider me your personal bodyguard, Prince Arthas.
Mal'Ganis is not making this easy.
Yes, Mal'Ganis is totally behind this.
They're very persistent. What else can he put in my way?
Prince Arthas Mineth, on this day a powerful darkness has taken hold of your soul. The death you are destined to visit upon others will this day end.
I do what I must for Lordaeron, and neither your words nor your actions will stop me.
We'll see about that, young prince.
Chronal Lord Epoch. The Infinite Dragonflight often tries subtle methods to manipulate the time ways. But if that fails...
Protect your prince, soldiers of Lordaeron! I'm in need of aid! A small sacrifice for the greater good.
Hold on, Arthas. I'll heal you. But if that fails, they can send an assassin to deal with Arthas directly. While little is known about the agents of the Infinite Dragonflight, Epoch displays a dangerous mastery of time that makes him a deadly obstacle to Arthas' future. Notice how once I healed him, he decided to just go ahead and attack and focus on me instead. He's also taking a little bit of damage from Arthas, which is funny. By the way, he's also doing Devotion Aura for us, which is also funny. But yeah, he's got Time Stop, Curse of Exertion, which increased the cost of our abilities by 100% for 10 seconds. Yikes. Wounding Strike, Time Step, and Time Warp. Alright. Come on, we have a Guardian to save.
The city we declared to Mal'Ganis lies behind that bookshelf ahead.
It's behind the bookcase.
This will only take a moment. I believe this secret passage still works.
Did you hear that sound effect? That's straight out of Zelda. That was great. Oh gosh, this gauntlet. Oh, this gauntlet. Oh my goodness. I imagine back in the day, trying to do this on Heroic when it was current was a nightmare. I can just only imagine. Because, of course, I haven't actually done it. Like, I probably could check out what it's like on a Wrath server in Classic, whatever. But I haven't. But who knows? Never say never, right? I'm going to go ahead and try and see if I can go ahead and clear out a bit of this ahead of time. In fact, maybe we can save the Guardian before we do have to do this. Just go ahead and wait right there, Arthas. I'll be right back. I'm just clearing the way for you, that's all. Now, I've accepted that there's just no convincing people, you know. No matter how many times I try to explain or how often I argue with people, they're always going to consider what Arthas did a horrible, monstrous thing. And yes, it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. What I'm saying is that if you're like that, if you're hoping that maybe there actually was some other better way, like Uther said, where he's like, "There's got to be some other way." There wasn't. There was no other way, no good outcome out of this. No matter what, it was going to be horrible. And again, when you consider the choice that I brought up earlier, it's something I've thought to myself that if those people in this city knew, what would they choose? So, how would you guys like to know how to get a mount? So this is that Guardian of Time that Chromie was referring to. This is on Heroic only, by the way. So this was a thing where this was basically a challenge. A speed run through this dungeon on Heroic difficulty. If you could get to this guy in 25 minutes, you had a chance to take him down and free this Guardian. And once you do so, you get a mount. You have my thanks for saving my existence in this timeline. Now I must report back to my superiors. They must know immediately of what I just experienced. So yeah, this is a very easy mount to get nowadays. Just come back here to this dungeon, go through, and you've got yourself a new Bronze Drake mount. So, now, instead of us just going through this gauntlet first, though I imagine a number of people actually tried to do that, just clear out this entire gauntlet first before we had Arthas go through, because what we're actually trying to also do is that challenge. So they're just like, let Arthas stay there. Let's just go through here. Fast, fast, fast. Because I imagine that the time was ticking down. Tick, 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 tick. And they're just like, quick, quick, quick. So we could be able to do the challenge so they could get their mount, you know? Think of it like the 4 chests run in Zulaman back in the day, in that regards.
May the light have mercy here as quickly as possible, or I will not. If the undead don't kill us, the fires might.
So even once you trigger Arthas, there are still enemies that will show up here in this alleyway. And of course, Arthas will actually like, I will attack them, because I've got a big hammer. Which is a cool looking hammer, I will say. It's not quite the hammer, or at least the model he had back in Warcraft 3, but then again, compare the graphics of Warcraft 3 back in the day to how they are in WoW, you know? Then again, they tried to do that with Reforged, but... Can I just say also that there are some people that are...
But we must move again soon.
That there are people trying to actually recreate it themselves, Warcraft 3 Reforged, but the way it was supposed to be done. And they are either doing so with the...
That's enough. We must move again. Mal'Ganis awaits.
With what is there of Warcraft 3 Reforged, or with the StarCraft 2 engine via the custom campaigns thing. Now, what's also cool, though, is that they're also using what is there for Warcraft 3 Reforged in terms of like the engine and the maps and such to actually recreate other things like Warcraft 2. So let's just say this would actually provide someone like me the opportunity to...
Market Row has not caught fire yet. Mal'Ganis is supposed to be in Crusader Square, which is just ahead. Tell me when you're ready to move forward.
The opportunity to not only experience Warcraft 2 for the first time for myself, because I never got to play Warcraft 2 back then, or do a playthrough of it to show you guys the story of Warcraft 2, because how many people actually know the story of Warcraft 1 and 2, considering the way that those games were made back then? They weren't really made with that much story in mind. In fact, there was hardly any actual, like, cutscenes or anything. The only story stuff in those games back then was just Bill Roper doing the narration between each of the missions. You know, because he was the only voice actor in Warcraft 1 and 2 back then. Doing zog and all those voices back then. He was doing the mission briefing. You know?
This city will be done.
The destiny of Mal'Ganis has already been written. Arthas' hatred for the Dreadlord will cause the prince to travel to Northrend and take up Frostmourne. But...
we're going to finish this right now, Mal'Ganis. Just you,
Lordaeron
will be saved.
Test, Prince Arthas.
This will only happen if Mal'Ganis... Hang on, Arthas, I'll heal you. Finds him worthy to prove his worthiness and begin down his path to becoming the Lich King. Arthas must survive Mal'Ganis' onslaught. It's okay, as long as he attacks me and not Arthas, it's fine. They'll have to keep healing Arthas. So he's got Vampiric Touch, Carrion Swarm, Sleep, and Mind Blast. Very Dreadlord.
Gather your forces and meet me in the Arctic land of Northrend. It is there that we shall settle the score between us. It is there that your true
I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth if I have to. Do you hear me? To the ends of the earth! You performed well this day. Anything that Mal'Ganis has left behind is yours. Take it as your reward. I must now begin plans for an expedition to Northrend.
The Dreadlord's Blade. which I already have, so. As horrible as this whole situation was, it had to happen. We had to help him do this. And again, there was no better choice here. There was no better alternative. This was a Kobayashi Maru for him. Hey, Chromie. Not quite the updated dragon model she has in Dragonflight. But...
Is this hello or goodbye? I keep losing track.
You've done well. The Infinites have been foiled, and this thread of history remains intact. I thank you for your invaluable assistance, as does the entire Bronze Dragonflight.
Take care of yourself out there.
You too, Chromie. See you in Dragonflight. And in Legion. And then, of course, there's the exit for the dungeon right there. So, that was the Culling of Stratholme. A nice little fun trip down memory lane. Of course, depending on how you feel about it. But, yeah, I've just kind of accepted that there's just no convincing some people that they're always going to believe that this was Arthas just being a cruel, evil monster, that he somehow delighted in this, which couldn't be farther from the truth. If you read the Arthas book, he hated doing this, but he felt he had no choice. That there was no alternative to this. That there was no better outcome. No matter what choice he made, there was never going to be a good outcome for this. He had to make horrible choices. He was put in the position to make horrible choices. And there was just no good outcome from any of them. Kobayashi Maru. If you're into Star Trek, you'll understand it. If you're not, I would highly recommend it. In fact, if you've never seen Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. In that context, I mean, he didn't have a option to change how that program was made like Kirk did. You know, he wasn't one of those like Kirk who said, I don't believe in the no-win scenario. It just wasn't possible here. Not at all. So that was the Culling of Stratholme. So we've dealt with the Infinite Dragonflight's attempt here for now. For now. We will see them again in Cataclysm. But for now. Now that we've dealt with the Infinite Flight. Okay, I'll tell you what. Before we decide to go head on over to the likes of the Storm Peaks and Zul... well, gosh, what's that zone called? Zuldrak, excuse me, sorry. Zuldrak, I had a brain fart there for a moment. Before we head on over to Zuldrak to deal with Drakari, as well as what's going on in the Storm Peaks, let's get this out of the way. When we return, we'll be heading to the Violet Hold. Stay tuned.